Hello my peeps! This is Ket, aka Kakibot, and today I am bringing you a video about a topic which I think we should have covered by now on this channel, but somehow we haven't. Some people call it slang, some people call it colloquialisms, but yeah, this channel hasn't really touched upon that just yet. The reason why I thought this would be a good moment for it is that I've gotten to that point where I keep walking into like sort of tourist-centric shops and I see all these phrases and words like printed on mugs and t-shirts and they don't make any sense to me. Like, I've been here for almost 12 years now and these are phrases which I have never heard in my life. So I thought I will do some thorough investigation and look into which words, phrases, terms are actually to be heard when you are in Edinburgh, whether you are visiting for a couple of days or if you are moving here, in which case this is a very practical video for you to watch. Some of this might be language that you might hear like in the pub, but some of it is language that you might run into in like official communication. By that I mean like city council website or your GP's notes, so yeah, stay tuned. Now, at the very start, I'm just gonna cover some of the words that I think everyone knows. You know, you have your like lads and lasses and wees and ice and all of that. And I think that because those are words that almost like even just pop culturally, you just know that they exist, you know that they are mostly Scottish, but sometimes you even hear like Americans use them as a fun little phrase, you know, just a wee boy, just a wee lad. Sometimes it's just already very well known. I don't think that I have to cover that. It is used over here. It is not some sort of Scots hoax, but yeah, by this point, if you're a fan of this channel, you know that these words exist and I don't have to say anything more about them. I think I'm gonna start by words that are used when you're being addressed. So mostly this would be pal, or sometimes they say hen, but I think that in regular speak most people will not call you hen. I think hen is the feminine one. However, I think a lot of women don't enjoy being called that, so I think it's kind of like petering out of the regular use. While pal is, I would say, unisex. I am called that all the time by like delivery men, you know, postmen. It's, yeah, it just happens all the time, and I think that in the start you're a bit confused by it, but it's cute. Like, it just means friend, right? So it's a very friendly way of addressing someone, even if you don't know them. It happens all the time. While we're at being friends, there's also the lovely term chum, which in a lot of English-speaking areas means simply also a friend, but here in Scotland it kind of transcends just being a noun and sometimes it becomes a verb. Ooh, exciting. I love it. I love when someone says, will you chum me to the shops? Or like, will you chum me to the post office? To chum someone means to accompany someone, and I think that's a much nicer way of saying it. Plus I love the word chum. Chum. While you're seeing your chums and pals, you might have a little blather with them. This is a word that I also see relatively often, more written than said out loud, but you will definitely notice it around in the media. A blather is a nice little chat over a pint or a coffee or a little dram. And while you're having your little blather with your chum, you can have some juice. You might think, okay, again, it's kind of a juice obviously is a word that exists outside of Scotland, but it's used differently. In Scotland, juice is usually any fruity soda, but sometimes it's basically any non-alcoholic drink, including tap water, also known as council juice or council juice. If you don't want to go the non-alcoholic path, maybe you will get yourself some bucky. Bucky is kind of a local term for Buckfast, and Buckfast a lot of people see as a Scottish thing. So Buckfast, for you who are lucky enough to not know what Buckfast is this fortified wine. It used to be sold as like a health tonic. It used to be sold in very small quantities, and sometimes you can still get it in small quantities. I think in some of the like bar-y, clubby places on Cowgate you can get like a shot of it, which I would recommend being like the top level of Buckfast you should drink. Interestingly, Buckfast isn't even Scottish. Buckfast is originally from Devon, which is almost as far away from Scotland you can get, but somehow in the 1960s it just became super popular here, and yeah, now when you go out, or I don't even know if like people, I don't think that people buy Buckfast in like a pub. This is something that you buy in like a corner shop and then you drink it outside, and then yeah, and then you're steaming, which is another Scottish word for being extremely drunk. When you get hungry, you will probably be looking for something to munch. One of those things can be a supper. And I think that, again, down in England, a supper is kind of just dinner, right? But over here, supper usually means like a full meal from a chippy. Chippy is a fish and chips shop, which I assume people know, but maybe they don't. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people coming into UK from outside of UK are not aware of the term chippy, but that's kind of more of a regular British term, not just a Scottish thing. Anyway, but what is not a English thing, but a Scottish thing is the chippy sauce that you can get on your fish supper or a smoked sausage supper. And the chippy sauce, once you start researching into it, it is slightly unclear what it really is. The base is brown sauce, but then it's diluted by, some people will say vinegar, which is the better option. Some people will say water, which just seems like someone is trying to make money of you. But hey, people in Edinburgh specifically really like it. I believe it's kind of an Edinburgh institution, the chippy sauce. So maybe you will need to try it again with your supper, which is any sort of chippy protein with chips. I said the word chip a lot in the past 2 minutes. And as an extra note, I think this is more of a Glaswegian thing, but I really like when people call a sandwich piece. You don't really hear it too much in Edinburgh, but I like it, so that's a little sort of Glaswegian bonus here. Now let's talk about some words you can use when you are super excited about something, when you super like something. So I think that one of the most known ones will be bra, which you see all over the place. You know, there will be like cafes and pubs that have that word in their name. Bra means anywhere on the like range of awesomeness from like this is fine to great, excellent. A more Edinburgh specific term, from what I've heard from my Edinburgh specific friends, is berry, kind of like the name. Fun fact, this is a word that actually does not come from Scots or Gaelic. This comes from Romani language, just like the word pal, which I've only learned through researching for this video, which also comes from Romani, which means, I think, brother in Romani. On the other side of the awesomeness spectrum, which I will call non-awesome, you have a couple of words that you will use when you're not happy or you don't like someone. I think that maybe if you're not local, don't like walk around just like throwing these at people. I think that the word chan, which means kind of disappointing bad, is kind of like bad neutral. There's nothing all too offensive about it. I don't hear it that often, but it does exist around, and it does seem to be a very, again, Edinburgh specific word. I do like the word ballbag, but I probably wouldn't call anyone that, and I will probably have to tell YouTube about saying this word in this video, which is, you know, scrotum. That's an anatomical term. That's fine. That should not be offensive, and YouTube should not have a problem with that. There's actually a Scottish, maybe Edinburgh-based brand that manufactures underpants for men that's called Ballbags. Fun fact, when I came here to study advertising, this was like one of the first briefs we got, so to me it's just like a little fun word, but I cannot guarantee that like nobody will take offense at you saying that word, but at least now you know what it means. You also have the cutesy Egypt, often spelled E-E-D-J-I-T, which you can probably guess means idiot. And then you have your Neds and Bams. I have mixed feelings about these words because they both are like short for something. And I think that these days, you guys are gonna call me so woke, but I feel like maybe we shouldn't be using these terms anymore. So Ned stands for a non-educated delinquent, which feels kind of classist. And Bam is below average mentality, which is even worse. Yeah, but you do hear those a lot. I would say especially Ned. If you watched my video about the dangers of life in Edinburgh, which mostly is about how it's very safe here, except for sometimes young people make you feel a bit worried in that way that like, oh, I'm old now and these young people are staring at me and I don't know what young people are up to these days. So, you know, people would call them like baby Neds, which is kind of, I find that kind of cute. But again, I have mixed feelings about kind of the background of these words. One note about the term Ned, how I understand it, it's basically the Scottish equivalent of the English chav. So if you ever need to use it in a conversation and you would go for a chav, you can use Ned or you don't use it, depending on how much you agree with me on the background of these words. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's my feelings about it. Here in Edinburgh and Scotland, more widely, we also have a lot of words for when something is smelly or disgusting. So you have rank, you have reeking, you know, from which you got old reeky, you know, back in the days when Edinburgh was full of like coal pits and, you know, burning peat and it smelled real bad, like last year when we got that bin man strike. That was the new reeky. Another one is honking. All of those are very fun. I love them. I also really like the word Joby, which is poop. You might know that Lewis Capaldi sometimes writes some of the songs for other artists under his pseudonym Anita Joby. Yeah, that's actually credited on those albums, so yeah, but it's a fun word. And you might notice that some people, when they're referring to like their cat's litter box, will say Joby pit. If you super want to put some emphasis on something, maybe something is very smelly, you can say it's like pure reeking. The word pure in Edinburgh is used very often when you want to like really stress how much something is adjective. If you're talking about time, you can also use the term Yonks, like I haven't seen you in Yonks a very long time. Oh, and hey, if you're still watching this video, that probably means that you're enjoying it. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe so this video can get to more people and you will never miss more content about Scotland, moving here, living here, and, you know, local culture and hidden gems. Okay, let's move on. Now, in this last part of this video, here are some words, phrases, and terms that I couldn't seamlessly fit into my well-prepared script. So this is just kind of like the mess, like, you know, when you clean the house, and this is like the last sort of cardboard box of mess that didn't quite belong anywhere. Let's start with the phrase easy OZ, which I have heard Simon use a lot, and I didn't realize it was Scottish. But this book said it is, and how it is used is usually, okay, in our life it's usually used in the context of what do you want for dinner? I don't know, I'm easy OZ. Then we also have the chromatic pirouette, that is the word use, which is just a plural of you. I believe this is mostly a Glaswegian speak, but it also overlaps with Edinburgh a little bit. Maybe we just like it so much. I can see people, even like a lot of fellow immigrants, adopting that word, that grammar, and using it on a daily basis. Another one is geese, not like Hong Kong geese, but so this one I wanted to mention because this was possibly the most confusing thing for me. It is often spelled like G-E-E-Z-E, kind of like when you're saying like, oh, geez. And so I was in a couple of conversations where I would say something like, you know, I made a cake, and a friend of mine would say like geese, which means like, oh, give us, like gimme, gimme, gimme. And I thought that she said like, oh, geez, here you go again, baking your cakes. I'm like, and it like made me feel quite sad. Thankfully, I did inquire about like, why are you so judgmental about my cake baking? And she was like, oh no, this is what that means. And I'm like, oh, oof. Okay, don't worry, no Scottish person will ever judge you for baking cake. Another very fun duo are the words shugle and scoosh. Shugle is, if something is shugly, then it's kind of unstable, a bit wonky. You can also give something a shugle. So like, you know, if in the background something looks weird, I'm gonna give it a little shugle, see if that fixes things. Probably made things worse. Scoosh, most often you will hear in the context of scooshy cream, which is squirty cream. But also it just kind of means, like, it's this like onomatopoeic word for like a splash. And at the start of this video, I promised I would also mention a word that is often used in a very official manner, and some people might be confused by it because this is not a word that you learn in language classes, and it is the word out with, which means outside of. So for example, in your doctor's notes, you might be getting some like lab work results, and you will get a little note that says highlighted are any results out with the reference range, meaning, you know, outside of reference range. Also, things like if you're at the city council on Royal Mile, you will see on a little plaque outside, like, don't call us out with these hours. And that takes me to the end of my list. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this video. Hopefully this has been both entertaining and helpful, or at least one of those things. As always, because this was probably not the most exhaustive list of these words that you could find on the internet, I would love to hear back from you down in the comment section, where you can not only leave some comments for me, but maybe start a little conversation with other people. You know, if you are a local and you can think of some words that you use on a daily basis and you would perhaps want visiting people to understand better what they mean, then you can leave them down there and other people can check it out, read through the comment section, discuss, make friends, win. Once again, if you want to support me for all this serious research I do for you, don't forget that I have an Etsy shop, which is going to be linked in the doobly-doo. You can also visit me on Instagram under KakiBot for my illustrations and KakiBlog for my photography. And any like and comment and share will always immensely help this channel. So yeah, if you think the work I do is good, don't forget to do at least one of those things and I will be super duper grateful. Okay, that is truly it for me. I hope you have a nice rest of the day and you feel well educated, and I will see you soon.